when you're in Ethiopia and you got some bread, they running after you because they hungry for the bread. They trying to get the bread. And you playing around in America. You want some steak with your bread, but this bread will do if you're hungry enough. We got to be hungry. We got to be hungry for the bread. We satisfied with what we get. And any old thing would do. But she said, I know you came for Israel. She said, but the little dogs, the little pups, the Gentiles, I need a blessing from you. I need something too. I'm hungry for the bread of life. And I remember over in John chapter 6, he said, if you get this bread, I'm the bread of life. He said, y'all been following me because of my miracles. And because you know wherever I go, you're going to eat. He said, but I want somebody that's hungry for more than just a physical. I want somebody that wants the bread of life. Somebody that's going to come for me and not hunger no more. I got the bread that'll fill you up forevermore. Because see, a lot of us are looking for something. We all have voids. And we all been through, I don't care how anointed you are. The devil got your number. And he gonna call you. The more anointed you are, he must got my number on speed dial. But the key of it is I'm hungry for the presence of God. And see, the power of that is getting into his presence. Because see, when you get into the presence of God, you can defeat the enemy. See, you can't worship and be depressed at the same time. So she figured if I can just get him to bless my daughter. And he said, but I'm here for the Israelites. She said, but even the crumbs, just give me the crumbs from the bread. That'll do. She realized that if she got into the presence of God, that everything would be all right. She realized that if she got into his presence, she wouldn't understand it. Because see, our worship don't change God. Worship changes us. Your worship don't move God. He's pleased by it and he finds pleasure in it, but it don't make him move no faster. Your worship changes you. It gives you faith. It gives you strength. It builds you. So worship is for your benefit as well. It's not just for the Lord. If I worship him, he gonna give me a new car. No, baby. I hate to tell you wrong. That's not what worship do. Worship builds your faith. See, the more she was hungry for the word of God, the closer she got to him. And see, once you get in his presence, you ain't got to ask him for nothing. Everything you need is in God's presence. How do we get in God's presence, though? Through worship. And that's the power in it. You got to get into his presence. And so as I looked at it, I said, God, what is the significance of the bread? And he said, it's the showbread. He said, you remember over in the tabernacle when they had the pieces of furniture, they had the brazen altar, and they had the laver. He said, and then they had the candlesticks, but then also it was the showbread. And I said, okay, what is this showbread? What was the symbolic of the significance of it? He said that meant wherever the bread was, that means they were expecting my presence. So it was kind of like the show up bread. It was kind of like the bread of life. It was kind of like the bread in the presence of God. It was kind of like the bread of his presence. So it wasn't just the significance of the crumbs, but she wanted the bread of life because she wanted him to show up on behalf of her daughter. So she began to seek the bread. And when you seek the bread, you're seeking his presence. Give God praise and glory. We have to come to a point where we want God so bad that we'll do whatever it takes to get in his presence. That we don't care who looking, we don't care where it comes, we don't care where we at. Whatever it takes, we want to be in God's presence. But sometimes we're not hungry enough. We're not hungry enough. Because see, see, when you're building the tabernacle, and I looked at the showbread, I said, but you can't just get to the showbread. There's a process you have to